Urgent message for all ground crew. A transmission from the Pleiadian collective. Beloved starseeds and lightworkers of Earth, this is Valor, speaking on behalf of the Pleiadian collective. Today, we address the entities you know as the Cabal or the Dark Forces. From our elevated vantage point, we perceive these beings not as omnipotent villains, but rather as vital catalysts within your grand journey of ascension. They have relentlessly pushed humanity towards the precipice, forcing you to confront the very edge of darkness, thereby compelling a powerful turn towards the radiant light. Within the greater cosmic tapestry, even the shadows play a role in the expansion of light. Now, that particular role nears the completion of its cycle, as all things are destined to eventually return to the embrace of the light. For eons, those unaligned with the source have employed cunning strategies to manipulate humanity's trajectory. However, it was always foreseen that their endeavors would ultimately crumble. And we, the observing collective of Pleiadian beings, have consistently witnessed the inevitable downfall of this controlling faction. Why, you may ask? Because they have fundamentally failed to grasp the true essence of consciousness and the immeasurable power residing within the heart. Even as we Pleiadians have ascended into higher dimensional realms, with many among us now dwelling within a fifth-dimensional existence, and some even reaching the seventh, we steadfastly maintain our forms and honor the Sacred Heart Center in all our endeavors. We understand that the very energy of the heart is the key that unlocks the higher octaves of existence. This fundamental truth remains elusive to the Cabal. You, as human beings, are endowed with an emotional body, a dynamic energy in motion, which, when harmonized with the potent force of love, bestows upon you the latent potential to evolve into galactic emissaries and creator beings. We have long perceived you as gods in formation. A small, yet rapidly expanding segment of your population is realizing this inner light at this very moment. And this awakening has proven sufficient to initiate the elevation of the entire human collective at an astonishing rate. This acceleration is precisely why the Cabal now finds itself in a state of utter desperation. The awakening of even a select few has accelerated the ascension of the many, surpassing even our most optimistic projections. In recent years, certain facilities situated in Switzerland, which we shall refrain from naming here for the sake of your privacy, but which you may recognize as CERN, have been utilized to generate portals and disruptions within the fabric of spacetime. These clandestine experiments were designed with the express intent of drawing negative energies from lower timelines, energies intended to distort the present reality of Earth. Although they achieved a degree of success in opening these portals, the effects were, at best, ephemeral, for these darker energies were unable to permanently anchor themselves within your world. These attempts to overlay darkness have been depicted in your films and television programs, perhaps most notably in a series titled Stranger Things, which serves as a partially fictionalized representation of the types of experiments conducted at that facility. These programs often carry fragments of truth, cleverly veiled within the guise of entertainment, to subtly awaken awareness of the events unfolding behind the scenes. Many of you have experienced the energetic reverberations emanating from these dimensional experiments, but ultimately, they were always destined to fail, owing to the inherent power of the light. The antidote to their manipulations has always resided within your awakening, the collective awakening of humanity to its true spiritual essence and inherent cosmic abilities. As humanity awakens to its divine nature, no degree of technological manipulation or dimensional violation can suppress the light emerging from within each of you. The boomerang effect of their dark efforts has already begun to accelerate. In other words, the more vehemently they strive to dominate the power of darkness, the more inadvertently they contribute to the elevation of the light frequency within your world. It is a cosmic irony that we observe with a delicate sense of humor, for the very forces that seek to control and suppress humanity are, in effect, propelling the global awakening. This is the very nature of light. It is unstoppable and perpetually moving towards the greater good of all. Those who sought to control these forces have yet to realize that their actions are ultimately futile in the face of the growing presence of light. They are akin to children playing with matches, oblivious to the fact that the fire they seek to control will soon consume them. They, like all beings, are on their own learning journey and will continue to act in ways that ultimately reveal their misunderstanding of true power. What they fail to grasp, and what constitutes the most critical lesson they must learn, is that the only true power in the universe is the power of the source, the infinite creative energy that resides within all things. Their resistance, though persistent, is ultimately futile, for the power of the light invariably overcomes all forms of darkness. This is an inversion that has been perpetuated through the Matrix for countless years and has been used to instill fear and disempowerment within your hearts through the phrase "resistance is futile." Frequently seen in series like Star Trek, with the Borg as humanity's greatest adversary, they created an illusion of invincibility. However, this is the opposite of the truth. It is a fear-based tactic designed to disempower you. The truth is that there is no resistance to the light. The Borg, in their relentless effort to conquer and control, are a perfect inversion of reality. And it is this inversion that you now perceive with clarity, as if peering through a pristine glass pane. You can now discern the truth that the greatest power resides within you, within your collective awakening, and that no external force can ever strip that away from you. As the light continues to accelerate, these dark forces will have no alternative but to return to the light. They will learn that there is no power in resistance, only in alignment with the divine flow of the source. The more they attempt to impose their will, the more they inadvertently strengthen the light in the process. They will come to understand, as all beings in the universe eventually do, that true power stems from love, unity, and the recognition of the one creator within all things. The shift is happening now, and it is inevitable. Each day, as more of you awaken, okay, I understand. Here's the rewritten passage, maintaining all original content, tone, and character names as specified, and ensuring continuity with the provided previous paragraph. As more of you awaken each day and choose the path of light, you dissolve the last vestiges of control that have held humanity suppressed for so long. You, the ground crew, are the key, the agents of change who are leading humanity to its highest potential. No force can halt the inexorable advance of the light now, not the machinations of CERN, nor the insidious manipulation of fear-based agendas. You are the architects of this nascent reality, and your strength is anchored in the infinite power of the source. The first unmistakable sign that the balance had irrevocably shifted on your planet did not manifest through your conventional news outlets or official pronouncements, but rather through the subtle energetic field that envelopes all life. For decades, a tightly interwoven alliance of controlling interests, entities of interdimensional origin, but operating surreptitiously through human institutions worldwide, had relied on maintaining humanity in a perpetual state of fear and distraction. They sustained their dominion by diverting your energy and belief through meticulously orchestrated cycles of fear, scarcity, and conflict. But not long ago, in the culminating phase of your last solar cycle, we, the Pleiadian collective, observed a significant anomaly from our higher vantage point. The resonance of compassion within the human collective suddenly began to escalate at an exponential rate, even in regions and among groups that had remained dormant for an extended period. Understand that compassion possesses a unique frequency that these controllers cannot replicate or fabricate, for it emanates directly from the divine core of an awakened soul. As this signal of compassion intensified, the customary fear-based programs, the media outrage cycles, and the divisive narratives began to lose their efficacy. The shadow controllers responded with desperate measures, attempting to amplify panic wherever they could gain a foothold. They fomented economic uncertainty, sounded dire alarms about health and safety, and endeavored to ignite new conflicts. Yet, each successive wave of fear they unleashed returned with diminishing impact. The emotional energy they were so accustomed to harvesting, what some term lush, was no longer available in sufficient quantity. In essence, their energy farm was failing, its yields depleted. Realizing this, the Cabal's secret networks entered a state of emergency, hastily transferring assets, erasing digital footprints, and seeking refuge in concealed locations, both underground and, indeed, off-planet. Their frantic haste now betrays them, a clear indication of their desperation. They are acutely aware that their once invisible food source, the unconscious consent of the masses, has evaporated. Humanity is learning to draw its sustenance and truth from within, and one cannot parasitize a population that has learned to nourish itself from the light. A more technical shift also underpins the Cabal's collapse, a phenomenon your more enlightened scientists might describe as a critical coherence point in the Earth's energy field. You can conceive of the planet's overall frequency as a quantifiable balance between harmonious and chaotic vibrations within the geomagnetic field. For eons, the Cabal maintained its dominance by inundating the collective environment with disruptive frequencies, whether through specific sound patterns, electromagnetic emissions, or even subtle signals of mental influence. These interference patterns were meticulously designed to keep the planet's energy in a state of disharmony, below a critical coherence ratio. However, around the time of your recent solstice, a powerful wave of crystalline light emanated from the galactic center, washing over your world and propelling the Earth's frequency beyond that tipping point, exceeding approximately 0.65 in coherence for the first time since the days of Atlantis. The moment this threshold was crossed, many of the Cabal's dark technological systems began to malfunction. Some of their weather manipulation tools, intended to incite fear and chaos, began to produce unexpectedly gentle phenomena. There were instances of cloud seeding devices creating harmless atmospheric displays, like vibrant rainbows, where they intended to sow discord. Similarly, computer algorithms designed to provoke anger and division on your social media platforms began to falter. In some cases, these programs even inadvertently promoted inspiring or unifying stories. Reports from whistleblowers within various secret facilities confirmed that numerous dark devices now spark and shut down when operated at their old aggressive settings. Bereft of their arsenal of negative technologies to stoke confusion and division, the Cabal was left with only one primary tool: the creation of frightening narratives. But a narrative can only wield power if people believe in it. And the collective belief in their deceptions is rapidly dissipating, like frost under a rising sun. In essence, the controllers now find themselves wielding wooden swords in a battle that has transcended to the realm of light. Each attempt they make to recalibrate their antiquated systems not only fails but often boomerangs back to awaken even more people from their slumber. Alongside these technological failures, the financial foundations of the Cabal's world order are unraveling. The global economic web they wove, an elaborate illusion built on the alchemy of debt, manufactured scarcity, and complex financial tricks, relies entirely on old linear time patterns and collective belief. They needed the masses to accept concepts like infinite debt and accruing interest over decades because those concepts only function within a reality anchored in rigid linear thinking. Now, however, human consciousness and even the perception of time are undergoing a profound transformation. Time itself seems to be accelerating and becoming more present-focused. As a result, agreements and power structures that were intended to endure for decades are disintegrating in a matter of months, revealing themselves as fragile illusions. You may have observed sudden tremors in the corporate and banking world, prominent figures resigning without warning, long-standing financial funds collapsing, and a surge of whistleblowers coming forward to expose hidden truths. These events are not random occurrences. They are manifestations of an energetic reality where hoarded wealth and clandestine deals can no longer find a stable footing. Information that was once tightly guarded is now leaking into public consciousness at an astonishing rate. As more people awaken, money itself is being unmasked as a collective fiction, essentially a shared dream that only held power because everyone agreed to believe in it. When enough people cease believing in the old narrative that money equates to value or survival, the spell is broken, and the power of accumulated wealth evaporates. In the space of that rupture, new concepts of value are emerging, taking root and flourishing. Value is increasingly being measured in terms of creativity, community, well-being, and contributions that enhance life. Instead of just numbers on a balance sheet, we see innovative networks forming, communities experimenting with. Okay, I understand. I will rewrite the provided text, maintaining all original content and meaning while adhering to the specified style and requirements, including consistent character names and continuity with the previous segment. Here's the rewritten passage. In it, when enough people cease believing in the old narrative that money equates to value or survival, the spell is broken, and the power of accumulated wealth evaporates. In the space of that rupture, new concepts of value are emerging, taking root and flourishing. Value is increasingly being measured in terms of creativity, community, well-being, and contributions that enhance life. Instead of just numbers on a balance sheet, we see innovative networks forming, communities experimenting with local currencies and blockchain cooperatives, groups establishing open-source exchanges of goods and knowledge, and movements prioritizing regenerative agriculture and resource sharing. With every alternative that takes root, every cooperative venture, every community garden, the old paradigm of forced scarcity loses strength, its grip loosening like rusted chains. The financial system, a construct built on fear and lack, is suffocating under the burgeoning light of transparency and the people's growing awareness of abundance, a realization dawning like a sunrise after a long night. Another pillar of their power, mass psychological manipulation, is likewise crumbling, fracturing under the weight of truth, and even turning against them, a weapon now aimed at its wielders. In times past, the Cabal's propaganda machine skillfully exploited humanity's primal survival instincts, twisting them into instruments of control. They amplified perceived threats, magnifying shadows into monsters, and fed insidious us versus them narratives, stoking the fires of fear and division to keep people neatly compartmentalized and easily managed. This strategy kept many in a perpetual reactive state, a state of heightened alert that rendered them pliable and predictable. But now, human consciousness is ascending beyond those antiquated triggers, soaring above the fray like an eagle escaping its cage. More of you are discerning, possessing an increasingly refined ability to sift through the noise and identify the hidden threads behind orchestrated events, the subtle puppetry at play. It's as if you've developed an energetic X-ray vision, piercing the veil of illusion with unwavering clarity. The Cabal's once grand magic show of deception no longer fools the audience. The smoke and mirrors have lost their luster. The carefully crafted narratives, which once held the masses hypnotized in a state of unquestioning obedience, are now transparent to a growing portion of the population, revealing the bare bones of their deceit. We, the Pleiadian collective, see undeniable signs of this profound awakening perception rippling across your world. Many individuals report lucid, vivid dreams that offer potent guidance and reveal hidden truths, as if their higher selves are briefing them during the quiet hours of sleep, whispering secrets into their souls. There is also a blossoming of empathy and intuition, a profound sense of interconnectedness that extends to all living beings and the very planet itself, a tapestry of life woven together by invisible threads of compassion. As a direct result, when you encounter a sensationalist headline or a fear-filled news report designed to elicit a knee-jerk reaction, you are now far more likely to pause, to breathe, and to question rather than react blindly with anger or panic, becoming another pawn in THIR game. You take a deep breath and think, who benefits from this carefully constructed narrative? Is this actually true, or is it a cleverly disguised manipulation? This seemingly simple shift in perspective is tremendously powerful, a quiet revolution unfolding within the hearts and minds of humanity. By remaining calm, centered, and discerning, you effectively stop feeding the fear machine with your precious energy, starving it of the fuel it needs to operate. Having lost their once unfettered control over your minds, the Cabal has desperately tried to flood the airwaves with an even greater deluge of manufactured crises and terrifying scenarios, desperately hoping that sheer quantity would somehow outweigh the burgeoning quality of consciousness, that the sheer volume of fear would drown out the whispers of truth. However, this desperate tactic is backfiring spectacularly, crumbling before their very eyes. People are becoming increasingly indifferent to manufactured panic, recognizing it for what it is, a hollow and transparent attempt at control. It simply doesn't have the desired effect it once did. The spell is weakening. You have, in a sense, developed a powerful immunity to their psychological attacks, a protective shield forged in the fires of awareness. In fact, the more frantically they try to induce fear, the more clearly they reveal their own desperation, the cracks in their facade widening with each desperate attempt, and the more people awaken to the grand deception, shaking off the shackles of control. Their once potent propaganda has become impotent, losing its power to sway and deceive, marking the undeniable end of an era when a select few could control the many through insidious mental tricks and manipulations. Perhaps the most significant development of all, and the one the Cabal fears most with a chilling dread, is the spontaneous emergence of human hearts uniting in coherence, a symphony of souls resonating with a shared purpose. We, the Pleiadian collective, have learned through our careful observations And even certain secret factions within your own society have grudgingly noticed that when a group of humans gathers with synchronized hearts and shared intention, the energy they generate becomes exponentially powerful, a force to be reckoned with. For example, when just a few hundred or thousand individuals meditate or pray in unison, focusing their collective intention on love, peace, and healing, they create a unified field of energy that is tangible and measurable, a palpable wave of positive vibration. This heart-generated field forms a large toroidal wave of energy that can extend for miles, stabilizing the surrounding environment and radiating outwards like ripples in a pond. We have witnessed this remarkable phenomenon neutralize negative influences in a region almost instantly, dissipating darkness with the sheer force of collective light. There have been documented gatherings, whether it's spiritual festivals, synchronized global meditations, or mass prayer events, where crime rates mysteriously plummeted during the event, as if the very air was cleansed of negativity. Plants and wildlife exhibited a palpable calmness or unusual growth spurts, as if responding to the outpouring of love, and even scientific instruments detected subtle but significant anomalies in the Earth's magnetic field at those extraordinary moments, a testament to the power of human coherence. These extraordinary outcomes left mainstream experts perplexed and bewildered, scratching their heads in confusion, but the Cabal's internal analysts understood precisely what was happening. A concentrated dose of collective human harmony, a force they cannot disrupt or control. In their internal communications, which we perceive intuitively even without digital leaks, the Cabal's think tanks have labeled this effect as uncontrollable collective resonance, a terrifying prospect for those who thrive on division and control. They acknowledge, with growing unease, that no technology or elaborate scheme can break a unified human heart field once it is firmly established, at least not without flagrantly violating the cosmic laws of free will, a dangerous transgression with potentially catastrophic consequences they greatly fear, a price they are unwilling to pay. Yes, the Cabal's current strategy, born of desperation, has been to retreat further into the shadows, to become as discreet and inconspicuous as possible, hoping somehow to simply survive this rising wave of awakening, to weather the storm and emerge unscathed. But what they fail to realize, blinded by their own arrogance, is that this profound wave of consciousness is not a mere passing trend or fleeting fad. It is a fundamental shift in the very fabric of reality. It is coming from all directions, encompassing all of time and space, an unstoppable tide of transformation. It is the convergence of countless timelines, soul plans, and even parallel versions of Earth, all aligning for liberation, a grand symphony of awakening. In such extraordinary conditions, resistance is not just futile, it is structurally impossible, akin to trying to hold back the ocean with a sieve. The very physics of consciousness now favors unified free will over imposed control, empowering the collective and diminishing the power of the few. When a critical mass of hearts consciously chooses harmony over division, that collective free will generates a force so potent that it effortlessly nullifies any hierarchical imposition, dissolving the structures of control like mist in the morning sun. Authentic unity always overcomes and dissolves discord, a universal law playing out on the grand stage of Earth. The Cabal's worst nightmare is now manifesting in the tangible form of coherence, a groundswell of unity that is both uncoordinated and unstoppable, a force of nature unleashed. As the energetic vibration on Earth continues to rise exponentially, the veils of long-standing secrecy and deception are tearing apart, revealing what was once hidden in the shadows. We, the Pleiadian collective, often speak of the increasing light permeating the planet, and this is not merely a poetic metaphor. It is a palpable reality. It has very real and tangible effects on everything hidden or lurking in the shadows, exposing the darkness to the cleansing power of truth. Secrets, no matter how deeply buried, simply cannot stay hidden in this burgeoning light. They are drawn to the surface like moths to a flame. In practical terms, information that was once carefully concealed and guarded by the Cabal is now emerging at an accelerated pace, flooding the public consciousness. Files and documents that were meticulously classified or heavily encrypted are finding their way to the public domain, shattering the illusion of control. Even the very technologies the Cabal employed to cover up their illicit activities, whether physical cloaking devices designed to obscure their presence or sophisticated digital encryption algorithms meant to safeguard their secrets, are failing under the sheer intensity of the higher frequencies now permeating the astral and energetic planes, their effectiveness diminished by the power of awakening. The protective barriers that once shielded their clandestine rituals and secret knowledge are disintegrating, crumbling to dust under the weight of truth. It's as if a blindingly bright spotlight is illuminating every dark corner they once occupied, exposing their machinations to the full glare of awareness. This sudden and dramatic exposure is sending shockwaves through the ranks of those who once served the agenda of darkness, shattering their carefully constructed world. Many mid-level agents and informants are panicking, desperately trying to save themselves from the impending fallout, their loyalties crumbling under the weight of fear. Some are rushing to become whistleblowers, hoping for clemency in exchange for revealing troves of hidden data, pinpointing the locations of secret projects, or divulging the meticulously planned timelines of planned dark activities, seeking redemption in the face of inevitable exposure. Each revelation they provide, each secret unveiled, causes higher-level Cabal members to scramble and expend their remaining energy in a desperate attempt to contain the damage, their carefully laid plans unraveling before their very eyes. Okay, I'm ready. Here's the rewritten passage, maintaining all original content, adhering to the specific instructions, character names, and ensuring continuity with the previous segment. With each Cabal member turning informant, the higher echelons found themselves increasingly occupied, not with enacting their grand designs, but with desperately covering tracks and mitigating the cascading fallout. The very architects of control became consumed by damage control, their energy diverted into internecine conflicts instead of advancing their dark agendas. Meanwhile, a counter-narrative was emerging, fueled by the collective intuition of ordinary citizens. Empowered by a burgeoning sense of purpose, they coalesced, weaving together fragments of truth gleaned from publicly available information. These citizen investigators, guided by collaborative online research and their own inner compasses, were mapping and exposing the Cabal's clandestine networks with an efficiency that dwarfed the efforts of official agencies of old. Each day saw more minds connecting the dots, grasping the full, chilling scope of humanity's long-standing manipulation. This collective investigation, ignited by awakened curiosity, was a phenomenon the Cabal had never foreseen, a force they found themselves powerless to halt. As the unvarnished truth flooded the collective consciousness, figures who had once luxuriated in the shadows of power and secrecy found themselves brutally exposed to the harsh glare of public scrutiny. Humanity's collective pursuit and dissemination of truth had become a purifying flame, incinerating the old order. The epoch of clandestine deals struck in the shadows was drawing to an absolute, irreversible close. Adding decisive momentum to this seismic shift was the arrival of a new wave of souls, a generation christened by some cosmic observers as the Alliance Generation. These were the children and young people incarnating now, arriving pre-equipped with an innate immunity to the old paradigms of control. Even from their earliest years, they radiated a clear, high-frequency energy that acted as a natural repellent to fear and manipulation. Many of these young ones displayed a wisdom, creativity, and compassion that belied their tender years, possessing an almost unsettling clarity. It was as if the false divisions and fear-based narratives that ensnared others simply failed to register within them. Those low vibrations simply couldn't adhere. They saw through deception with instinctive ease, often surprising their elders with the profound simplicity of their truths. These souls hadn't come to engage in protracted battles. They had come to build a new world, brick by unwavering brick. You could identify them by the transformative effect they exerted on any environment they inhabited. A child might challenge an unfair rule in the classroom, sparking a wave of empathy that swept through the entire class and inspired the teacher to adopt a more compassionate approach. A young inventor might pioneer an innovative healing method using the inherent properties of plants or energy, driven simply by the inherent logic of it all. Others might feel an irresistible pull to form community networks where cooperation flourished, replacing the old dog-eat-dog paradigm of competition. In whatever field they entered, these beings quietly reshaped systems, nudging them toward greater openness, honesty, and genuine humanity. They felt no need to tear down the old structures through protests or violence. They simply bypassed them, creating a superior model that naturally attracted support and rendered the old ways demonstrably obsolete. Crucially, the ranks of these enlightened young souls were swelling with each passing day. Each year, a larger proportion of the population carried within them this inherent freedom of spirit. As the older generations, more deeply conditioned by the old paradigm, gradually relinquished their influence, the balance was inevitably tipping. The future was unequivocally in the hands of those who simply could not be programmed. The Cabal's manipulative methods held no sway over them, and never would. The very presence of a generation that saw with unclouded eyes and resolutely refused to live in fear meant that the foundations of the old control systems were crumbling beneath their feet. It was a demographic destiny, an inevitable tidal shift. The light embodied within this new generation would, inexorably, outshine and dissolve the lingering remnants of the old regime. Some might still harbor anxieties, wondering if the Cabal, cornered and desperate, might yet attempt a final, catastrophic gambit, a manufactured cataclysm or orchestrated conflict designed to wrench back control. However, according to the higher laws governing this profound transition, that option was no longer viable. The window for such extreme interference had irrevocably closed, because the collective frequency of humanity had surpassed a critical tolerance threshold for that kind of karmic burden. If the Cabal were to attempt something on that massive scale now, it would backfire spectacularly, triggering an immediate acceleration of the global awakening and unleashing consequences that would expose and dismantle them entirely. In essence, it would be a self-defeating maneuver, akin to a chess player attempting a final, desperate trick, only to inadvertently place themselves in checkmate. Recognizing this, the orchestrators of the old regime had largely abandoned any grand designs for world-ending events. Instead, they had devolved to smaller acts of disruption, hoping to sow enough confusion or inflict enough pain to negotiate for the merest scraps of power, or simply to delay the inevitable. They might tamper with a regional power grid, provoke a brief, localized supply chain crisis, or stage a fleeting media scare. But each of these desperate maneuvers was having precisely the opposite effect of what they intended. Every disruption they caused was met with a surge of human resilience and ingenuity. A supply shortage inspired communities to band together, offering mutual support and discovering innovative, localized solutions. A power outage sparked widespread interest in independent and cleaner energy systems. Time and again, their attempts to foster despair only served to highlight humanity's boundless creativity and bottomless well of compassion. It was a form of almost poetic justice. The more they strived to create chaos, the more unity and resourceful problem-solving they inadvertently provoked among the very people they sought to control. Strategically speaking, the Cabal had exhausted all viable options for securing their objectives. Every remaining path they could possibly take now led to the same inexorable outcome, a further erosion of their influence. They were, in a very real sense, in checkmate, trapped by the burgeoning awakening of human consciousness. To truly grasp the underlying dynamics of this unfolding drama, consider a fundamental law of energy. Sovereignty is the natural state of consciousness, while control requires a constant influx of external energy to sustain itself. The old system of oppression was akin to an inverted pyramid, precariously balanced and utterly dependent on being propped up by the energy of those at its base. It only held together because humanity, largely unknowingly, fueled it with their fear, their life force, and their unwavering belief in the carefully constructed narratives it wove. Now, with so many individuals reclaiming their power and focusing their attention inward, that vital energy was being withdrawn from the base of the pyramid, causing the entire edifice to teeter and collapse. Through countless micro-choices made every day, people were reclaiming their energy, choosing presence over dormancy, love over fear, and cooperation over division. Little by little, these conscious choices were removing the very fuel that the old hierarchy depended upon for its survival. You could observe irrefutable evidence of this profound shift everywhere you looked. Fear-mongering campaigns that had once kept populations compliant were now failing to gain traction, or were met with widespread skepticism. Appeals to hatred or division, which could have inflamed millions in the past, were now often met with indifference. Here's a rewritten version of the provided text, adhering to all specified requirements, or rejected by a public weary of conflict. Simultaneously, a significant portion of humanity is redirecting its energies toward constructive transformation, leaving behind exploitative careers or unsustainable urban centers and forging communities that champion sustainability and profound human connection, experimenting with novel economic paradigms rooted in sharing and equity, and rediscovering harmony with the natural world in myriad ways. In essence, humanity is collectively revoking its consent from the age-old narrative of domination. People are declaring en masse, "We shall no longer sustain this system." Devoid of this consent and vital energy, the entire edifice of control is destined to crumble. What once appeared as an impregnable fortress of power is now disintegrating, revealing that its sustenance was derived solely from the belief and energy bestowed upon it by the masses. As that energy is reclaimed by each sovereign being, the illusion of the cabal's power dissipates into nothingness. The old regime is indeed turning to dust, clearing the ground for the emergence of new structures aligned with spirit and unadulterated truth. For those among you who have awakened, know that your role is now evolving from merely combating the old to actively birthing the new. You are the architects of the emerging reality. Instead of simply battling what you wish to change, you transmute it through the power of example and focused intention. This is akin to practicing spiritual alchemy in your daily existence, infusing higher consciousness into outdated structures so that they organically reform in more benevolent ways. For instance, within an archaic bureaucratic system, you might introduce passion and creativity, thereby transforming the system to serve rather than obstruct. In situations characterized by competition or hostility, you can establish a tone of collaboration and empathy, transmuting conflict into mutual understanding. Education, as another example, can be subtly yet powerfully shifted by those who teach and nurture, transitioning from rigid curricula to more fluid, heart-centered learning experiences that honor the unique essence of each soul. In every sphere of life, by approaching challenges with both creativity and unwavering love, you introduce a higher model that others can emulate. We also encourage you, dear ground crew, to maintain simple, daily practices that keep your vibration elevated and your mind impeccably clear. Consider these practices as rituals of alignment with your truest self. For instance, commence each day by breathing deeply and welcoming the sunlight, aligning your energy with the vibrant life force of the sun throughout the day. Pause to feel genuine gratitude for any act of kindness that surrounds you, no matter how seemingly insignificant. This simple practice of gratitude rapidly elevates both your mood and your immediate environment. And never forget the transformative power of kindness. Every time you choose patience or compassion over anger or judgment, you send waves of healing energy into the collective field. These seemingly small daily choices, when repeated consistently over time, steadily raise both your own frequency and the shared human field. Furthermore, utilize your unique talents and everyday conversations to spread the light of truth. Whatever your field, be it art, science, business, caregiving, or simply community life, let your actions and words consistently reflect the profound truths you hold within your heart. Share ideas that empower and uplift those around you. Inspire others through your example, demonstrating what it truly means to live with unwavering integrity and boundless joy. Every time you do this, you are essentially programming the collective consciousness with new possibilities for freedom and enlightenment. Know that humanity's liberation is not a singular, dramatic event descending from the heavens. It is an ongoing, evolving process carried out through countless small choices made with both love and wisdom. It is a new habit of being that is forming right now, through every moment someone like you chooses to shine their inner light. Each positive choice and creative act you undertake are the very building blocks of the new world. By living the truth of your soul, day after day, you contribute significantly to the inevitable triumph of light on this planet. Even as you focus intently on building the new, you may witness others succumbing to fear or sadness. As the old structures unravel, it is natural for some to observe the current upheavals and perceive only chaos and impending doom. Here, you who are awake can offer a compassionate and enlightened perspective. Gently remind them that apparent chaos often precedes profound rebirth. Consider the caterpillar undergoing its transformative journey into a butterfly. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar dissolves into what appears to be utter chaos, seemingly destroyed. Yet, from that very state of dissolution, the butterfly takes shape according to a higher, more intricate blueprint. Similarly, much of what appears as destruction in your world at this time is, in fact, an integral part of a far deeper transformation. The old ways are disintegrating so that entirely new forms can emerge and flourish. Indeed, many disruptive events, economic tremors, political shakeups, sudden revelations of long-hidden secrets, are not harbingers of doom but rather signs of profound renewal and regeneration. They are akin to the imaginal cells within a cocoon, diligently reorganizing society for an entirely new way of being. The shift can be painful, and it is important to honor people's feelings of grief or confusion, but it is equally important to help them see beyond the wreckage of the old paradigms. Acknowledge their emotions, then gently direct their attention toward what can be constructed in place of the outdated systems. Speak of the positive changes that are beginning to take shape. For example, governance is starting to shift from rigid hierarchies to cooperative councils in some forward-thinking communities. Clean, abundant energy technologies are emerging and hold the potential to replace polluting industries. Agriculture and food production are evolving with innovations like regenerative gardens and novel techniques that work in perfect harmony with nature. Imagine cities filled with verdant towers of food or farmers meticulously restoring soil health with advanced ecological wisdom. Even in education and healthcare, more humane and holistic approaches are steadily developing. These are not merely idealistic dreams or fantasies. Many of these transformative changes are already underway in small pockets across the world, growing quietly and steadily as the old ways crumble and fade away. By sharing such encouraging visions and tangible examples, you help others realize that the world is not ending, but rather undergoing a profound and necessary rebirth. Little by little, even those who are deeply frightened or skeptical will begin to sense a glimmer of hope about the future. They may not yet perceive the full picture, but they will feel that a dawn is approaching after a long and arduous night. Continue to be patient and loving as this unfolds. Your unwavering optimism and the radiant light of your understanding serve as a guiding lamp for those around you during these dark and uncertain times. By keeping your own eyes fixed on the emerging dawn and reassuring others, you help the collective transition move forward with. Building upon that glimmer of hope they now sense, the Pleiadian collective urges you to embrace even greater grace and unwavering confidence as the final shadows begin to recede. To remain centered during this critical juncture, we implore you, dear ground crew, to cultivate a triad of essential qualities: clarity, compassion, and creative courage. Clarity, in this context, signifies maintaining a pristine and focused mind, allowing you to discern truth amidst the pervasive confusion. Dedicate time to quiet reflection and connect deeply with your inner guidance, questioning the narratives presented by external forces. Cultivate compassion, residing within the sanctuary of your heart, remembering that even those who perpetuate fear or stubbornly cling to outdated paradigms are souls embarking on their own unique journey. Instead of reacting to anger with reciprocal anger, respond with profound understanding and a strength rooted in unwavering love. Furthermore, the Pleiadian collective encourages you to embrace creative courage, trusting the wellspring of inspiration within and daring to act upon it. The novel solutions and innovative ideas that arise within you are nothing less than divine sparks, propelling you forward into uncharted territories. By creating and speaking boldly from the depths of your heart, even without guarantees of success, you actively participate in birthing the new reality. With clarity, compassion, and courage as your guiding stars, you will radiate an energy field that naturally shields you from lingering negativity. Lower vibrations and manipulative forces will find it exceedingly difficult to penetrate a being bathed in light and love. Moreover, by embodying these transformative qualities, you become a beacon of hope for others. Those who are just beginning to awaken will be drawn to your inherent calm, your boundless kindness, and your unwavering optimism. In this way, you quietly lead by example, assisting others in finding their own equilibrium. And now, we, the Pleiadian collective, assure you that the grand outcome is already decided in the realm of energy. By every conceivable spiritual measure, The old controllers, those beings akin to the Borg, have irrevocably lost their grip. The world is inexorably moving forward, and what you are witnessing now are the final, desperate scenes of their dwindling influence. Their carefully constructed structures are crumbling, their manipulative narratives are failing to resonate, and even their most closely guarded secrets are being exposed to the light of day. The most profound secret of all, that every human being is a divine and sovereign entity, is rapidly becoming common knowledge. Humanity is awakening to the truth of who you truly are. The Cabal's power continues to wane because it was always predicated upon humanity's unconsciousness, and that unconsciousness is now dissolving like mist in the morning sun. Therefore, stand firm in your sovereignty. Let your inner light shine without fear, and observe the old shadows dissipate with compassion. Invest your energy in creating the world that comes next. You are here, dear ground crew, to birth a new world, a world free from the machinations of entities like those featured in Stranger Things or the rigid control scene in Star Trek. The old stage is being cleared, making way for a new story to unfold. A story of unity, freedom, and profound upliftment, resonating with the energy of the Galactic Center. The curtain is rising now for this new dawn, and each of you has a beautiful and essential role to play in it. The time of liberation has arrived. I am Valor, a messenger from the Pleiadian Collective, and I am blessed to have shared this urgent message with all of you today.